This is Kathy from Gadgets Top 321, and in today's video I'll be taking a look at Robert Oster Summer Storm. I'll be testing it in a variety of pens and nib sizes ranging from a Pilot Extra Fine to a 1.5 stub nib, and I'll be featuring my new Pilot Metropolitan with a cursive medium nib. It will be replacing my Prera with a cursive medium nib. This will be going into my sister's collection. And this is the first Metropolitan that I've ever owned. I've always kind of avoided the Metropolitan. I wasn't fond of the design, but as I've become more and more of a fan of Pilot pens in general, I wanted to give it a try. So we'll be trying that out today. I'm going to start with the Pilot Custom 74 Extra Fine, as usual. This is not bad. That's not a Custom 74. This is a Pilot 78G with an extra fine nib. And by extra fine standards, it feels nice on the paper. I know, looking at it close up through this viewfinder, it looks pretty good, but it's just a little bit, I don't know, I'll have to look at it compared to the others. It's a little bit, the read back is a little bit too fine for my taste, I believe. Let's see. Next I have a Pilot Prera with a fine nib. By smoothness standards, I'm not feeling any improvement. It's not bad. It's feedbacky, but for extra fine and fine nibs, that's acceptable. It doesn't look a whole lot different, which is surprising. There's not a whole lot of difference in feel or the look of those two. All right, now we've got the Custom 74 with a fine nib. Now this I like. The Custom 74 has a fine 14 karat nib and it puts down more ink. And the 14 karat nib has a little more character than the steel nibs. I like that one. All right, next I have another Pilot 78G. This one has a medium nib. This is a G+. Pretty smooth. I can tell I liked the Custom 74 better. It's not as noticeable through the viewfinder, but it's just a little darker. There was more, you can tell, there was more ink being laid down on the paper. All right. Next, I've got the Pilot Metropolitan with the cursive medium nib. Sometimes it's called the 1.0 stub. And after unboxing this and testing it, I ran this over some micro mesh. So let's see how it feels on Tomoe River paper. That feels nice. It feels like It might be a little bit, yeah, I think that's wetter than the Prera was. I like that. Had a nice feel. All right, next is a Nemesis Singularity with a 0.6 stub nib. And as usual, I like this. Look at that, the Metropolitan was just a hair wetter than the Nemesis. That's nice. All right, and finally the Jinhao X750 with the 1.5 stub. It feels a little drier than normal. Normally this stub really lays the ink down heavily, and you know, it did smear the ink. There was some excess ink, but yeah, it's a little more pale. More of the pale shades are showing up. All right, I'm gonna let this dry while I look at the other paper samples. I've got my ARC notebook. Now, these actually, they look pretty good. I'm not seeing a whole lot of feathering except on the stub here. You can see where it laid it down kind of heavy, the ink spread. But I will say, I didn't write any notes out beside this because none of these felt good. When you were writing, you could feel the ink spreading. Look how quickly it soaked into the paper. I mean, the paper was just sucking the ink out of the pen. So it didn't feel great, but it looks good. So I thought that was interesting. On Rhodia paper, it's a little bit wetter, except in the fine nibs. The fine nibs, again, look, there's not a whole lot of difference. And they didn't feel great, but they didn't feel bad. They were just acceptable. The Custom 74 I thought looked the best. That was nice. And actually, that one did, at this point, the nibs started feeling pleasant. I mean, these pretty much feel nice on any paper. Yeah, but I liked the Custom 74, and yeah, I thought that looked pretty good. Let me see. On the stub nib, it looked, actually, these look kind of flat. There's not a whole lot of shading that's showing up. I did a writing sample quite a while ago with the Perceo, and I'm seeing a little bit more shading with the Perceo than with these pilots. And so this is just one of those inks that you kind of have to play with it and see which pen will give you the results you want if you want to see that shading. On the 20-pound copy paper, again, this is on poor paper, it's just not that fun to use. The ink just sucks right into the paper. Look at that. I mean, the ink does not float on top of the paper. In fact, my pen had a little trouble here keeping up. It was being sucked out of the nib so quickly. Yeah, let's see what it looked like back here. Most of the inks, except for the two very finest, even the extra fine, I take that back, they all kind of bled through the paper. So this is not an ink that's ideal for poor quality paper. You want to use good paper with this ink. In my Leuchtturm, let's see, I saw a little bit more shading. Let's see, like on that S, you can really see it through the camera. On the S's, on the M. So it's an interesting ink. It looks like, on this paper, it really looks like pencil lead. All right. It looks good when paired with other vibrant colors on the page. Let's see. The shading's showing up now that it's dried. On Tomoe River paper, I am seeing some shading. With the Nemesign, it put down so much ink. It's like a halo effect, a halo of darker ink. I'm not seeing it as much on this medium. Those 78Gs aren't super wet riders. This was a pleasant ink to use on good paper. It's a nice gray. All right, no sheen or anything like that. All right, not bad. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.